Hi guys, a couple of weeks ago I posted a short video announcing that I will make a video in the future on how I use PCB boards as front plates for my prototyping projects. My prototyping projects professionally and privately, of course. Here you can see a few examples. Today I want to show you how I use them and what kind of enclosures I use them, with what kind of enclosures I use them and why. As you can see here, we have a variety of sizes and shapes, and we will take all of this apart and look at it a little bit closer. I'm going to start with this Resistor decade box. I did really, I don't know, 2020, it's quite a while ago. You see, I use a black PCB as the complete front panel for this box. Instead of CNCing the plastic or cutting holes in the plastic lid that comes with the box, it's much easier to use a PCB. It's nicer. You can see the writing is crisp and it looks professional. And even almost the whole connectivity is done with this PCB. This is the back of the PCB, again, of the front panel. Again, for the switches, here I'm using PCBs to mount the resistors and quite thick silver plated copper wire. This is, for example, one possibility, one solution. The whole thing looks professional. It is cheap to make and fast to make. Now that I have the design template for this enclosure, the size, the dimensions of the PCB, the dimensions of the front plate, I can reuse it for many other projects too. And this is my point. I'm using only a few enclosures and reuse them, or try to reuse them in almost every project I have. Of course, there are times that I have projects or designs that all of my enclosures that I have already in use do not match. Then okay, I have to make a new design for the front plates and for the back plates. The second one I want to show you is this one. I show that quite a lot of times. This is an aluminium enclosure that is in one piece. There's no top, no bottom. And for that I need a front plate and a back plate. Both of them are made FR4 material. And the good thing is, by using on the top and the bottom layer copper and connecting these two planes with the holes, for example, and other holes here, other screws, you have a very nice screening and a very nice shielding. This is connected through the enclosure, goes back to the back plane. So the whole thing here is completely shielded. I will not open this one because I opened it many times. As you can see, it is just front plate, back plate. But what I want to show you is you can make good looking, representable plates, front plates, or boxes, enclosures, projects, prototypes with not expensive. Of course, it's quite a lot of work to do it once, to make the dimensions, to make the cutouts, etc. but then you have it. You can use this front plate with that enclosure for other projects. Same here. This is, for example, an NTP server, a GPS disciplined NTP server I made for a customer, and I'm using this kind of enclosure. It is large enough for everything that I did till now. It is separated, it's of two pieces, the bottom and the top. This is the front plate. The dimensions, once done, can be reused, of course, for everything. The back plane. The good thing is in this enclosure, I'm using it as a heat sink for the electronics inside too. As you can see, this comes in different colors too. For example, black. This is for another customer I made. The design of the front plate is the same, but different colors, and you can see the varieties you can use. I will open both of them so you can see how I use the enclosures as heat sinks too. This one is a further example. It's a power supply for Yokogawa active probes. You can power up to two active probes, all of them. It's quite heavy because I use a linear transformer for that, a linear power supply to reduce the noise. Again, I'm using this enclosure, this whole enclosure, as a heat sink too. Here you can see the front plate and the back plate. Not very exciting, the back plate, but okay, it is functional. And the next thing, the more complicated front plate I made, is this. Some time ago, years ago, I purchased an GPS discipline OCXO from a German company. This is this module here. It is just a module for a 19-inch rack. And I wanted to convert it to a desktop appliance, as you see it here. And this is my solution. I searched for a box that is large enough to incorporate everything I want to put in. And I needed quite some electronics for drive the LEDs and make the square wave from the sine wave, what I'm getting here. This front plate is, the dimensions at least, are completely reusable with this casing. So now you can see I already have quite a substantial amount of cases that I can use for projects. Another form factor of casing that I'm using is this one. It's not really a casing, it's not really an enclosure, it's a potting case, potting box, 10 by 10 centimeters, and I'm using it for many projects. And how? By making a front plate with a PCB again, like that. This is an example that I made for a friend, for his workout, for his studio. It's a workout counter. It is just a PCB with some openings. And then you can see you have already a case, an enclosure. These potting boxes I use extensively, not only for external projects, but for my latest socket boxes that you could see, or that you can see in quite a lot of videos I made before. So let's go to the next box. This is the power supply I mentioned for the Yokogawa. If you see the insides, the linear regulators and the cooling system. Seal pads, quite thick seal pads, or a sandwich of seal pads, is used to transfer the heat from here, from these heat sinks, to the casing. These are seal pads I ordered in China. A friend of mine was there and picked it up when he was there on vacations, because these thick ones, they are not very easy to find. So we close the lid again. This is how you have it, complete with cooling. Next example. This project I made 2017 for a customer. That's a converter from IPTV to DVB-T RF output. I just pre-opened it to see it. Here you can see the insides. How I use the front and back panels. Back panel has nothing. It's just writing in the hole. But the hole with this technique I was able to make 10 prototypes in very short amount of time, representable, and to have test rounded customers. And because this whole Raspberry Pi, it's an Orange Pi, is getting quite warm and we have only passive cooling, here's the seal pad again. I was using a bigger one, but the customer, I don't know, destroyed it and had only this piece left, so he used that. Here you can see how the seal pad transfers the heat from the Orange Pi to the enclosure itself. And this is how it's closed. This is the second example of the previous box, the black one I was using. Just reusing the enclosure itself, the design, the dimensions that I already made for the previous thing for the front and back panels. And again, this is how it looks inside. And here, again, the seal pad. A generously large piece of seal pad. You can see here the footprints of the components from the Orange Pi. The thing, it at 100% load, does not need any more cooling. It's more than enough. The enclosure used here, the heat transfer from the Pi itself to the enclosure. Yeah, this is one of the designs I made for the U-Blocks receivers. And again closed, and this is how it looks. Fast, representable, called fast rapid prototyping, without having to spend a lot of money for CNCing aluminium, etc. This stuff, you get it, for example, from here, PCB way, where I get my PCBs, in very good quality, fast and reliable. You see here are already piling some cases that I will continue to use in the future, case designs. This one I like quite a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't find the dimensions without these flanges, but I will keep looking. I almost forgot to show another casing that I'm using. That's a Hammond case that I made a specific, custom specific PCB to fit inside this case. This is a Q-ring tester to detect shorts in transformers or in coils, mostly on flyback transformers for old televisions, but on other things too. I made it because a friend of mine is collecting vintage PCs, vintage computers that came with the monitors, and all of them, of course, are tube monitors, cathode ray tube monitors with flyback transformers, and quite a lot of them have problems. And I didn't have anything to measure them before, so I designed this. This is not, the electronics is not my design, it's an old design that I just modernized. But this will come in another video. Just an example of another casing. So, and now the biggest case I used till now, and I made a front panel for that using a PCB. As I mentioned before, the GPS disciplined OCXO module card that I transformed to a desktop appliance. I hope we'll get it out in one. Okay, I made it. This is how it looks. It's quite large. The insides of it, power supply, fan regulation, and now the most interesting stuff, the front panel PCB. The front panel PCB that I use to hold all the electronics I need for this desktop appliance. All the electronics are on the bottom side of the front panel itself. Just to show you another usage and how to solve perhaps some problems. This is how it looks. Nice, shielded. Of course the box is not shielded, but the PCB is completely RF proof. Again from the back. I know I'm too fast from the cam, but this is how it looks. Again, the bottom of the box itself and the back. You have air sucked in here and blown outside in this direction. So you have here, it's an active cooling, but the fan is completely temperature controlled inside. Just for better understanding, this is how the PCB looks for this box. And this is the back of the PCB. So no cumbersome large hole cutting with saws and drilling and having crappy labeling, etc. This everything is solved with front plates, PCBs as front plates, for example, from my provider here, from my sponsor, PCB Way. So, there are many others that will come. The only thing is I'm trying to keep the amount of cases I'm using as low as possible, to not to have to redesign all the time the PCBs, the front panels and the back panels that are necessary for this, for the casings. If any of that was of interest for you, Gerber files for these cases are available for the blank, of course for the blank front panels. I never said that before, but it would be great if you could subscribe to my channel if you're interested and like this video. That's for today, guys. Bye.